She stood alone beneath the black glass sky where the stars hummed like distant machines and the wind crawled over the bones of forgotten empires, her skin a lattice of pale blue light, moving in slow currents as if the pulse of the world was trapped beneath her flesh. They called her Israel in the old language, the language of warning and exile, the language etched on ruined walls long after her kind were hunted like ghosts through dying cities. Her hands were death, her touch was erasure. Living things blistered and folded away into nothing at the mere brush of her fingers. Trees withered, beasts screamed, metal turned soft then brittle. She had learned long ago to walk through the world untouched by kindness, untouched by cruelty, untouched by any tether. Except the ache that bloomed in her hollow ribs, where something old and lost once lived. But then came him. He did not belong here. He was not shaped by the sunless forges of this world, nor by the sharp metallic air. He was soft where she was carved by need, warm where she was silent. He came from the wreck of a ship fallen from a war the stars no longer spoke about. She should have left him, should have let the scavengers take him, should have turned away. But when he opened his eyes and looked at her, when the wind moved between them, carrying nothing but the fragile beat of his human heart, the world grew quiet in a way she had never known, and for the first time in all her endless silent walking her hands ached not with hunger or fury or cold, but with the sharp unyielding want to reach toward him, even if it killed him, even if it killed her. But the universe held its breath, because as her fingers brushed the edge of his ruined sleeve, his skin did not blacken, his veins did not break. Instead, a sound rose from where she touched him, a low bright note like the first birth of stars, a song that only she could hear, and she knew then. Something in her was breaking, something in her was awakening, and neither of them would ever leave this place unchanged. The song clung to her like a pulse, like breath, like something ancient, and lost crawling back through the long corridors of her blood, where no sound had ever lived before, where only the hum of empty silence had ruled for cycles beyond memory. She pulled her hand away, because fear was older than hope, fear was sharper than need, but the song followed her, lingering in the bones of her wrists, echoing against the hollow chambers of her palm, and she stared at him, this human, this break in the pattern of her cursed life. He sat there weak, broken, his body marked by the sharp ruin of metal and fire, the crash that had torn his world from him and thrown him down like discarded debris in the dead valleys of her exile. But his eyes were clear. His eyes watched her not with terror, not with revulsion, not with the dread she had learned to expect from all living things that knew what she was. Instead, he looked at her as if she was not death, as if she was not the last word in a dying language, as if she was a question. She hated it. She feared it. And still the song was there, curling beneath her skin, warm, soft, endless. He moved slowly, his body broken, yet willing, his voice rough from thirst, from pain, but shaped around words meant for her. "Are you going to kill me?" he asked. Simple, bare? And the song inside her answered before she could. No, not him, never him. But she had no words for that, no language that could shape the truth rising inside her, so she turned from him, her footsteps silent over the shattered ground, her hands pulled close to her chest, where the song burned brighter with every breath she should not have taken. She left him there, left him beneath the shattered sky, beneath the bones of stars, left him to die alone, because it was safer, it was cleaner, it was what she had always done, because her touch was death, her presence was ruin. But distance did not kill the song. Distance did not silence the echo of what he was, or what he had done to her. Far from him she knelt, beneath the black towers of stone, where the wind carried no voices, where the dead things of this world whispered to themselves in the dark, and she pressed her cursed hands to the earth, to the cold, indifferent earth, waiting for it to swallow her, waiting for it to end. But the song rose up from the ground as if the earth itself refused her surrender, as if something old, something forgotten, something holy was stirring beneath her feet, and it whispered to her in the voice of stars, lost long before she was born. Go back to him. Go back to the one who sings in your blood. And for the first time in all her empty wandering, all her cursed silent years, she listened, she rose, she turned, and she went back to him, not to kill, not to save, but because the song would not let her do anything else. Because the song had already chosen, and it had chosen him. She found him where she left him, broken, human, fragile creature shaped by war and loss, but that still alive, still breathing, still waiting. His eyes met hers without fear, without anger, without surrender. The wind moved slow around them, carrying dust, carrying the bitter scent of metal and stone, carrying the long silent weight of everything she had been and everything she could never be again. She knelt beside him, not close enough to harm, not close enough to steal his life away, but close enough for the song to return stronger, brighter, clearer, like the voice of a sun beneath her skin. You should have left, she told him, her voice low, her voice dry from disuse. Because words were not meant for her kind, words were weapons or warnings, nothing more. I know, he said simply, his voice raw but sure, but you came back. And she could not answer that, because there was no reason, no logic, no purpose, only the aching, undeniable truth that his skin sang to her, that his presence tore holes in the walls she had built inside herself for so long. He reached for her, slow, deliberate, a gesture meant for peace, meant for hope, meant for something no one had ever dared offer her before. And though her hands burned, though her mind screamed, though every instinct told her to pull away, to run, to vanish, she let him touch her. Skin to skin, human to curse, and the world did not end. The world did not shatter. Instead, the song roared through her like fire, like light, like the forgotten music of stars, colliding in joy rather than war. And far above them, in the cold, distant heavens, something opened its eyes. Something ancient, something watching, something waiting. Because the curse she bore, the curse that had shaped her from birth, was not a curse at all. It was a key, and he had turned it. The earth shook beneath them, slow, steady, pulsing like the heart of something impossibly old, impossibly large, impossibly alive. Stone split in perfect lines, light poured upward from cracks that had not been there before, from veins of power that had slept beneath this dead world longer than any memory could hold. She stood pulling him with her, his weight nothing against the rising tide of energy, against the growing hum that answered the song in her blood. He stared in awe and fear and wonder, and she could not blame him, because even she did not know what was coming, even she did not know what ancient force they had awakened together. But she knew this world was never dead. It was waiting, waiting for the one who could survive her touch, waiting for the one who could reach her without dying, waiting for them both as one together. The towers of stone bent toward them like watchers, like guardians, like sentinels, shaped by forgotten hands, and in the center of it all, where the light burned brightest, a shape began to rise, a door, a gate. A way out or a way home, she did not know, but it called to her, called to them both. And without fear, without hesitation, he took her hand fully, completely, as if she was not death, as if she was not exile, as if she was simply alive. And the gate opened. The world behind them fell silent, not in death, not in loss, but in peace, because its purpose had been fulfilled, its watchers returning to sleep, its stones closing their eyes once more. They walked together into the light, not knowing where it led, not knowing what waited beyond, only knowing that together they were stronger. Together they were something new, something impossible, something beautiful. He looked at her as they crossed the threshold, as they left behind the endless silence of a cursed world, and he smiled. "Tell me your name," he said softly. And for the first time in all her long empty life, she did. Israel. Not a curse, not a weapon, just a name, just hers. And his skin still sang to her, still filled her with light, with hope, with the promise that no matter what waited on the other side of this gate, she would never again walk alone, because she had found him and he had found her, and together they would write a new song, a song no world could silence, a song that would never end.